Well, welcome to another one of Clarky's stories. And before we get on to what I'm going to talk about, I'll tell you how the story started. I was laid on my bed with my cat, Smudge, explaining to him what my idea was for a new hobby. It was at this point that I heard somebody trying to kick my front door in. Now, I thought, what the hell is that? Well, I'll show you what it was. Yes, he's looking a bit worse for wear. And why is he trying to kick my front door in? I don't know, but he was having a right good go. So I leaned out the window and I thought, I know what I'll do. If I talk to him, I'll bore him to death eventually and he'll leave. That didn't work. He was having none of that. He was coming in no matter what. So then I thought, right, what I need to do is get my machete out and get another couple of my machete wielding mates and we'll sort it out. But then it suddenly occurred to me that my couple of machete wielding mates are actually in Brazil and I ain't going to be able to get them here that quick. And the other thing was, I didn't want anybody confiscating my machete for any reason because I need it shortly to go back to Brazil, up the jungle again. So then I came up with second plan. What I'll do is I'll threaten him with this. I thought, yeah, that'll do it. The problem is, this thing doesn't work. In fact, even the bullets in it don't work. They're blanks. So really, all this is good for is getting hold of it and beating him around the head with it. I thought, maybe that's not a good idea either. By this point, Smudge was hiding behind the settee. I know that because I heard him run downstairs and I thought, maybe he's got the best idea. So what did I do? Well, I hid behind the bed and I waited for these kind people that you can see now to come and deal with the situation. And what was it all about? I still haven't got a clue. But what were we thinking about with this new hobby business? Well, it does have quite a lot to do with this type of stuff. And I was at one of these military armed forces day type things and there was people dressed up in costumes and military tents and all this World War II, World War I stuff, and I thought, oh, I could do that. I've got some military hardware. Doesn't work like, but I've still got some. So that's what we're going to have a look at. What's the plan? Well, first thing I'm going to need is some sort of stand. You know, something military, something green, camouflagey, roughy tufty. Problem is where to get something like that. Well, I've had a fortunate life, you could say. So it seemed as though it was a sign when I saw this company called Soldier of Fortune. The only problem was they were 3 hours drive away in Wales. But what the hell. So we jump in the car, we zoom over there, we get back about 8 hours later convinced that I never ever want to go on a motorway ever again. To which end I may just give up my HGV licence this year. So I'm not tempted to. And got all the gear, brought it home. So what we're going to do next is we're going to set it up. This bit of garden isn't big enough to set it up. I'm going to sit down and think about this. Well, this is my bench, and what I'm sitting in now is the pot garden, because the garden the other side doesn't get any sun in the evening, but the sun shines down on here. So I thought, let's have a pot garden. A few of this and a few of that and a few bamboo and I don't know. The space is big enough to set up my display, but there's just one itsy bitsy problem. It's what happened after I built the pot garden. And this is the problem. The pot garden lasted about a couple of months, and my late wife, sadly not here anymore, Marie, she was getting not decrepit. I shouldn't use that word, it's not very nice, is it? Let's just say she wasn't as fit due to her illness as she should have been, and she started suggesting that sleeping in my two-man tent was getting a bit much for her, and maybe we should think about hotels. At that point she sent me off to Tesco to get some ingredients for something she was cooking, and I thought about this hotel business. Quite expensive are hotels. Anyway, when I came back with the ingredients, I said to her I bought something, and she said, what? I said, I'll meet you halfway. Tent, hotel, caravan. So now I've got the problem that the caravan's in the way for setting this up, so we're going to have to shift it. So we'll do that and we'll see where we go from there. I've got the caravan moved, and the next problem is I'm going to put my glasses on. Now this is a bag to store it in. It's obviously got some tie backs here, and the problem is it's got this string tie here. Now some of you will be looking at this and going, surely he knows what to do with that. Well, from when I was about 13 years old, I worked on a farm, and all the bags of fertiliser and food and stuff came in bags fastened like this. So the farmer, he showed me how you just undo this and you go and it all comes off, leaving some neat little holes. And he showed me again when I was 14, and he showed me again when I was 15 and when I was 16. And even 4 years later, when I came back from being in the army, he showed me again, and I still fail miserably to do this. So, at risk of you lot sitting out there going, you dickhead, anybody can do that, I'm going to switch you off while I figure out how to get this off without damaging. Of course, you may ask how I do it normally. Well, I normally get a pair of scissors and I just cut through it, but as this is a storage bag for the canvas, I don't want to. So yeah, I'll be back in about 3 days when I've figured this out. That didn't go too bad. 5 minutes and I had it figured out. Spent 60 years not knowing how to do it, but maybe I got lucky on this one. Anyway, what we've got here is Bivouac Vehicle Shelter Green by K Canvas. I thought this would probably be the only bag to keep it in, which will keep it dry, but it does come in its own separate bag here. Looks nice and tidy. Am I going to be able to get it folded up that small again so it'll go in here? I wouldn't bet on it. So I'm going to get this out and make some progress trying to put it up. And one of the problems is I don't have enough room to get the guy ropes properly out. But we'll see how it goes, and I'll show you what a K-canvas, what's it say, bivouac vehicle shelter looks like. And then we'll see what's going to happen next. So we're making progress. I've actually taken a photo of the unfolding, every fold, because there's no way I'd remember how to put it back together and get it in that bag. But I just thought I'd stop for a minute and show you the poles. So you might think, oh, well, they're nice and simple. But what I'm going to point out to you is they don't come cheap. These poles are in the region of about £60 each. Not for the lot, each. So I'm hoping they're going to last a lot of years. Outlive me even. That'd be good, wouldn't it? Right, move on to the next part. Da da da. What do you think? Well, you might be wondering exactly what it is. The design is authentic replica from the Second World War of a shelter that's designed to attach to the side of, say, a tank or an armoured vehicle, and that gives the crew somewhere sheltered where they can get their head down out of the weather and not being cramped up inside their vehicle. And has it gone up all right? Not exactly. First, I haven't got the width to put the guy ropes out properly, and even if I had, it wouldn't have worked either, because, excuse me, I'm just going to choke. Yeah, because the front guy ropes, the two on the front, are the wrong length. These are the length of the ropes that are on the back. So I'm waiting for a call back from Soldier of Fortune, who will no doubt sort this problem out for me. To keep with the authentic look, it also comes with the wooden pegs, and for these you need a mallet. And have I got a mallet? Not yet, but as soon as I see the post office delivery man pull up, I will have. So that's it, we're up to there. We're now going to add the next bit on, which will be give me a little bit of shelter for my display. Great. Well, phase 2 completed. The idea being that this part will be high enough to give me some shelter. The poles, I thought they were going to be like 6 inches too short, so what we need to do is get some wooden blocks, drill a hole out that these poles will fit into, and then we can just raise it. Once we put the tension on, that's going to give me enough room to stand out underneath here if it's raining and still play to the crowd. Yeah, I know. The idea at the back here, when this is all set up properly, is this little lap here that would normally fit to the side of your vehicle, tank, you know, armoured car. That will be lifted up and attached to these rings here, and so when it rains, all the water will run down the back, in theory. I have another one of these, which if I was going to use it, I would put it on first, because it's to drop down here, so that if I'm sleeping in there, I've got some privacy. We don't want people walking past and seeing me use my pee-wee bottle in the middle of the night, do we? No. Well, all we need now is some display tables. Let's go see if we can find some of them. Well, before we look at the final result, look what's come, and I couldn't wait to have a go with it, like a big kid with a new toy. This is the sort of thing that my woodwork teacher, Bob Hall, at Filey County Secondary School, used to throw at me. And you might think, that was rather cruel. Well, you haven't seen how bad my woodwork was. Anyway, let's give it a go. I think that'll do it. Now I've got to do is get it out. Yeah, well, we'll come back to that later. Well, that's it. Let's just run through what we've done. We've changed this, as you can see, so we're not going to raise the two outer poles, because I remembered I'd got this camping pole. So what I've done is I've made a bar to run from front to back to give it some you know that word, rigidity, that's the word. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. The tables, they fold in half, so they're like camping tables, but they're reasonably substantial. I hope so, because I don't want this thing falling off and dropping on my toe. They are going to be covered with Hessian. I've just put this throw on here just to protect the top from the legs which are spiky underneath the bren there. And what am I going to be waffling about? Well, anything that anybody's daft enough to listen to me talk about. But I think the clue is on the poster at the front there. And for those of you who know me well, you know I can waffle about that till the cows come home. So with that in mind, I'll call it a day. Got to pack all this stuff away. Oh, just one last thing. Soldier of Fortune rang me back, and they put two of these up this morning. Didn't work because they found that their guy ropes were too short. So I'm not the only one. So they're sending me two new guy ropes out ASAP. So that's good. So that's it for this. We'll be back next time to have a look at Clarky in uniform. Should be fun. Until then, I've got to go play with me guns. Bye.